everyone. Welcome back. So I'm going to dive into Kamala's natal astrology, and as much as I can, as much as I have time to get into also her probably solar returns, solar arcs, progressions, transits, and all of that, up through between now and up through the election. Okay, so hold on. Let me bring you over to my table. I'll show you all these charts. Okay, so before I dive into her, um, all the planets and the signs and the houses and then the aspects, the important thing I want you guys to know is that she was born. Now it looks like it's an exact full moon, but it's not. Um, so the way you work it, we always want to look in our natal charts as to what phase of the moon we were born under. And because her sun comes in at 27 degrees 48 minutes and her moon comes in at 27 degrees but 39 minutes, it's not yet totally full. It's at the very edge, the very, and it makes so much sense. I mean, I see her as, like Kamala, our wise Lakshmi, joyful lotus warrior. And she was literally born within minutes of that full moon, but still under the previous phase, which is the waxing gibbous phase. So that indicates that she's naturally grounded to the earth, and she's a loving and helpful soul. And this lifetime for her is one of overcoming the past, tons of inner work, inner self-reflection for constantly, improving her effectiveness in her service, and that's further reinforced by the fact that she has her Pluto, Uranus, Venus stellium down here in very service-oriented Virgo, and in her fourth house, no less. So this to me feels like being very grounded, emotionally grounded, even though we have these two sesquisquadrates coming down here, which does relate to sometimes having unexpected detours or disruptions, but she has this adjustment, inner adjustment that she always does. That's what I can tell here, and to have this stellium, her soul, her nervous system, and her desires and wants, and the way she finds unity within. These are all in a very, very tight orb. And so what's going on here is I feel like it's all about for her a real emotional need to have safety and security and sensitivity in like her inner home. And this has to do with her family as well. And you can see the soul shock here probably of losing her, well, when her parents got divorced and her father, I don't know, she doesn't talk bad about him, but it seems like he just wasn't there. She says she was raised by her single mother. So, read between the lines there, right? And then Saturn's up here in the ninth house, which usually indicates the father, making me think that he probably was always traveling for some reason, and that's why he just wasn't around. Now, back to this fourth house, I feel like it's this emotional connection to home and homeland. And that translates even more strongly because of her south node and part of fortune in the sign of Sag, which is all about, law. And I would guess that she, even if I didn't know her, even if there was no name up here and there was just this timing, I would think, oh, this person probably has had past lives working in law, or way back in, I would say connected to big nature. But most importantly, because Sag is over here in her descendant, her south node is connected to past life gifts and all the work. And this is at this 20, and her part of fortune as well. This relates to, at this 24 degrees, we're in that third decan where she's coming in with this already big, fruitful offering of who she is. And then with her north node in Gemini, Mercury ruling her chart, because that's Mercury rules Gemini, and that would be, the sign on the ascendant, or the planet and the sign. We're dealing with communication. So understanding the law, understanding what she believes in, and Jupiter's over here in the 12th, Jupiter ruling Sag, and these two inconjuncts quincunxes show that she's dealing with a lot of just making adjustments once she comes full circle and learns something. And I do feel like she's very guided, by her guides and guardian angels, and she's coming from a place of, a spiritually based life, even though she probably would never say it, but I do feel like she is very spiritually grounded with Jupiter and Taurus here. But because of these adjustments, she's always reflecting back to probably, a lot of deja vu experiences, even where, oh, I think I've been through this before, And so, of course, here she is. She's a warrior for women. Bottom line, she's a warrior for women. But back to this, her, being born under the waxing gibbous phase. Well, what we also have here is, just think of the fact that she was born in the USA, Oakland, California. And then the stellium here in the fourth house is definitely her home, and the homeland. And then what the other part that we have, and we could also see that her mother was a very, very powerful force in her life and her ancestry. And so I really feel like I see her literally being our new mom. This is mom energy down here. That came in, and she'll be, our new mom, January 21st, 2025. I mean, I see her putting her hand on the Bible, taking her oath, and being sworn in. So there you go. Now we'll wait and see what happens with that. But to keep going with back to her moon phase. So this does show that she's gifted in compassionately including everyone, being that it's in the 11th house, and then also because Chiron's up here. Now Chiron can be our deepest wounding, but also our greatest gifts. Once we work through all the wounding, the gifts come through. And because she's, she'll be 60 at this next birthday, and I do have her solar return next. What we're dealing with there, she's already gone through her Chiron return. That happens for everyone between 50 and 52, and that's when we meet our deepest wounding, and it's right in our face, and we can't get away from it. And then we process it through. We keep processing it through until we're done. Or some people go into denial and they just don't do the work. But that's not her. I can tell that's not her. And I would think her deepest wounding has to do with working really hard and working for the people, which takes so much longer, working for the collective here, because this is Pisces. Pisces has everything to do with her devotion. It has to do with her it's painful for her to see people be victimized and scapegoated. So, of course, she's worked hard to free women from, sexual abuse, molestation, all of that. Human trafficking. She's done her work, but it's been kind of, behind the scenes, and we haven't seen it all. Well, I'm thinking that the more we dig and look, we'll see how much work she's really done. Now, Pisces is also healing and including, and it's very spiritual, and it opens up, the opportunities to, for service, and being that the polar opposite is Virgo, and she has this huge stellium down here in Virgo supporting all of this. So I see, a lot of confrontations in her work, a lot of opposition, like, who are you kind of thing, you're not even white, or just things like that over the years. And this is deeply in her DNA as well. And then she's made breakthroughs. She just kept doubling down, working harder, sticking with the thing that really drove her, which has to do with her need to fight. Mars rules her moon. You don't mess around with an Aries moon that's highly developed like this. I mean, they win. Or they'll find a workaround to make it work, whatever the goal is. This is trailblazing energy. This is really self-assertion and independent energy. And it has to do a lot with everyone is allowed to exist, everyone matters, and and there could have been pain, the pain of abandonment here with her father. The sun can rule the father, and in fifth house can be about the father, and that was probably very deeply painful for her. So we could see that there was, I'm sure, breakthroughs there. But so anyway, I get that feeling that with Chiron up here in the 10th house. Now the 10th house, that reveals the way that a person participates with society. And then her Libra sun at that full degree of 27, that's nothing to sneeze at either. That's really highly developed in the realm of wanting justice, fairness, and equality, and most of all, balance. So with with this sesquisquadrate coming here from Chiron down to her sun, again, lots of detours and disruptions that she's had to go through, but she knows how to work it. These things turn into strengths. Same with the squares. They're tension fields, but they turn into strengths. What else? Well, I think it's important to name that her creative, because this is the fifth house, right? Her creative self-expression, it comes from this balanced perspective where, along with her being born under that waxing gibbous moon, her internal approach is to step back and make adjustments and to keep improving. We can see that here with her south node. That's a strength there from, if she wants to expand and grow, she knows she has to keep making adjustments given the era that she's living in. And here she is, still fighting in this lifetime. And it's all about freedom and justice. So, and I think that she's always just trying to just keep improving, keep making things better, and improving herself. And with her fifth house sun, I think she's going to educate us as to her generous spirit, which is also deeply psychic with Mercury here in Scorpio. And then with her Aries moon being ruled by Mars, and Mars is down here in the third. This is her fight for education. I mean, this is a wide orb going on here to Saturn, but still, Mars in Leo is this, this generous life force that wants to, be free. For her, creative self-expression is a part of her identity, and this is very courageous. She has a lot of courage. She's a very creative, courageously creative woman. So, but anyway, with this being the joyful warrior up here in her 11th house, she's fighting for humanity and humanity's freedom. The 11th house is ruled by Aquarius and Uranus, so we're dealing with, the spiritual law of brotherhood and sisterhood. And this is her moon. The moon is just it's our body, psyche, soul. It's such an important part of our chart. So I can't, say enough about how strong this is to have her moon in the 11th house in Aries, ruled by Mars. And then Mars down here, and again, it's not a tight orb, but it's strong. To look at this we've got the trine here to her moon, moon trine Mars, Mars giving more energy, generous, loving Leo energy to her emotional body, her emotional foundation. And then the sextile over here to Saturn, this is the aspect of the architect. So she knows how to, and this is a community-minded house as well. The third house has everything to do with making decisions, trying not to get distracted, but it's her level of intellect and her thinking capacity. And it's also the house, of community, like neighbors, neighborhoods, environment, and all of that. It's a house of learning. So she's like on fire for learning. Mars is fiery, and Leo's a fire sign. And then it's balanced over here with Saturn up here in the 9th house. Now, I know it looks like it's close to the midheaven, and it is. I mean, it's 28.5 degrees. We only have to go one more degree, and then we're in Pisces. So we're talking about 3 degrees away from the midheaven. So having Saturn conjunct the midheaven is all about how she participates with society, because this is part of, one of the 4 hot points, which I can go over that real quick. So the ascendant is what we magnetize based on who we are within. She wants to learn. She wants to communicate what she learns. She wants to network. She wants to gather more information. She can work with duality because of, where she is at this point. But when she was a little kid, that probably wasn't that easy for her. But then again, 24 degrees here on the ascendant. That is amazingly, and her north node is on her ascendant. So her path in life was to continue to learn and communicate what she learns. And in that last decan, she's full of gifts. 24 degrees, the last decan, she's full of gifts. This isn't anything new. And she's used to working with people because the south node is over here on the descendant. So we're talking, these are hot points, right? So the ascendant magnetizes life experience based on who you are, ruled by Mercury. She's always going to be thinking and learning and communicating. And then her relationship sector of her chart is all about law. It's all about what she believes in. Her speeches, I heard one last night, and she was saying, well, I believe, and she got really fired up, and I felt like, well, maybe she was some type of a preacher in a past life, with Sag being sometimes like religion, but I feel her being very spiritual. I feel like it's much bigger than a religion. But I think her religion is freedom. It's all about speaking up. Sag is all about speaking up, and it's about you speak up for your beliefs. And it's all about what means something to you, what matters to you most. So, and she's totally against patriotic and religious dogma. I can feel that. So there she is. And then her part of fortune is right there. So all she has to do is move forward in life, coming from that well of wisdom and resources that she has from the past, and then just keep speaking up as to who she really is. And she's going to do just fine. And notice these we have 2 trines to the moon, right? So we've got a fire trine here, and a fire trine going down here to Mars, and then Mars back up to over here. This is a grand trine, a grand fire trine. That's doubly powerful because it's to 2 important points. And then with Ceres over here, this Ceres in a natal chart always relates to the maternal imprint. Now, at 5 degrees of Capricorn, we're in that first decan. So her mother was a very, very strong influence on her that helped her develop the foundation of who she is. She had a very strong relationship with her mother. And you can also see that because there's the trine to her moon. The moon relates to the mother, Ceres relates to the mother, and there you are. Very, very strong. Now, going back to the hot points, come down here to this point down here. So the IC, it's the MM Coli. This is a past life point as well. And we have 2 degrees of Virgo down here. Now, Mercury rules Virgo as well. So we have Mercury ruling her ascendant, her past life point down here, her well of wisdom down here as well. And then Jupiter ruling her descendant. So this is that growth to be in relationship and speak up for herself and say it like it is. And then up here, the way she participates with society, up at this 10th house, the midheaven, in Pisces no less, right? I mean, my goodness. And then Chiron, it's not conjunct, but it's still not that far away. The energy is still there. So this is this coming full circle. Pisces is in the highest levels has to do with being very intuitive, very sensitive, very compassionate, and doing your best to. I think for her, it's about her devotion. I really think that she's devoted to participating in society and to support society. I mean, it's just too easy to see right there. And like I said, healing and inclusion. She's all about that. And when she's in her flow, she's on fire, right? And then she's got this flow. And then, like I was saying, the aspect of the architects, from Saturn to the moon, she'll always have this opportunity here to speak to the public. The moon rules the public, and to work hard and create something. Saturn's retrograde. So Saturn, this is a do-over for her in this lifetime, and I would imagine she would just keep doing that because, this is for humanity with Saturn being at 28 degrees of Aquarius. Saturn has everything to do with how we structure our lives. It rules government. It rules, mastery. It teaches us. And so humanity is teaching her. In her 9th house of belief systems, she goes to the structure of life and the structure of humanity to see what she believes in and whether or not it looks good to her. And then she'll make changes accordingly, and especially because it's opposing her natal Mars. So there's that just constant. This is a really beautiful connection, just this fighting for humanity because she believes that we all deserve, to grow. We all deserve freedom. We all deserve the right to decide how our lives go, as long as we're, living within law. So, and she doesn't, I don't think she minds the delays that Saturn sometimes brings in because it always fortifies something that is being built. It takes time. It's like building the foundation of a house. It just takes time. But this is a teacher aspect here, and this is the teacher house, the higher level teacher, like professor. It's also the house of divination. And let's see, what else? Because of the trine down here to her Sun and Mercury, this is the aspect of the architect. She has 2 here, but here's one. So this is a building aspect. From the core essence of who she is, as a person coming from justice and fairness and equality, that she will fight for over here, and she will stabilize it within the laws of the land. Okay. Down here you can see her Neptune, it's Scorpio, is sextiling. There's 2 sextiles here. See how Neptune's at 16? Actually, I would say this whole, because 3 degrees isn't too far away, but this whole stellium in Virgo, we have 3 opportunities here coming in for her to deeply be of service with Neptune and Scorpio. So Neptune, it can be, where we transcend. It can also be where we dissolve. So I think she's had trust issues that she's had to work with and let go of. But the more, that's how it works, is the more you learn how to trust yourself and your connection to spirit, then, everything else works from there. So this, I think, on one level, she might have a little bit of a perfectionistic kind of thing to deal with, and also a workaholic thing to deal with. But she doesn't mind it. I think. She's fed by it somehow, and with this connection over here to her soul, her nervous system, and then her her love for service. Venus loves service when it's in Virgo. In fact, without the work and without the service, it's kind of like, well, why am I here? I totally get it. So, and then you can see the other trine coming from Venus and then up to Jupiter. It's not a tight orb, but it's still there. See how Venus is at 17, Venus to Jupiter. So again, the love that continues to expand for people's survival and self-esteem and what they value. It's like she has this connection to humanity and the spiritual essence of each person, and then with the trine down to Venus, there's this personal love for every little living thing. So this is really, really beautiful. Now, Mars, with the sextile to the moon, I covered that already. I'm sorry. Let me look at Eris here. I got distracted there. So Eris in Aries. Now, we all have Eris in Aries. Eris is our feminine counterpart, which is stronger than Pluto. But it's our feminine counterpart to Mars, and Mars can be seen as, in evolutionary astrology, we call it Pluto's little brother. So there's all this fight, and the fight for women's, because this is the feminine counterpart, and in Aries, oh my goodness, it's all about women becoming. Not becoming, we already are, but being included as equals in society. So we're still fighting for that. Now, because it's in her 11th house, again, the 11th house has everything to do with her goals, the people that she hangs out with and chooses to be with, and the organizations that she belongs to. And this shows, her fight for a good quality education as well. You think of fraternities and things like that, but with societies that cooperate. And the 11th house is also, colleagues and just any group affiliation. It can be known as a house of friendships, but also our hopes, wishes, and goals. So there again is that, to free women, to free anybody that's downtrodden. She really is an underdog. And we know Tim Walz is definitely, or not Walz, I'm sorry. Walz is an underdog for sure. So anyway, let's see, what else? This 11th house moon shows her commitment to a long-term strategy and to connect with allies. And with all these aspects, definitely. Her emotional foundation is coming from needing to be in meaningful service to a larger, greater good. I do think that she leads with her heart. These two placements make me think of that. And maybe just to get started, she leads with her heart, and then she's got this fight against bigotry, against cruelty, and groups that go against humanity. So she really is truly a force to be reckoned with. And then, we all have this transiting, Jupiter square going on for quite some time. Well, she has natally Jupiter square Saturn. In fixed signs, no less. The one we're going through is in mutable signs, so there's more adapting. But, and we'll see where that is in her charts when I get to the other charts under here, when I get to her transits. But anyway, so Jupiter square Saturn. Jupiter and Saturn are the builders of the zodiac. So she's very I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't use an astrologer and if she doesn't use divination systems. I feel like she probably does because of this ninth and 12th house connection here. But maybe it's just more of an internal, going to her source within. And with the square to Saturn, then she knows which way to go. Like it looks to me like she goes within, and then from there, like deep in her body, deep in her bones, even. And I feel like her fifth chakra is really hooked up, like her. Well, shoot, right here with Mercury ruling her whole chart, but also Taurus rules the neck and the throat. So I think that she has a deep, natural connection. And then she works that in a way that she can, support society, being that Saturn's there conjunct her midheaven, but Saturn is still in the ninth house, which has to do with her beliefs and legal affairs and, just the way she thinks on the higher levels. It's also the house of publishing, media of all types. So she knows how to work it and get things going out there. But, generally we're talking courts of law. I'm sure she was, I know she was an amazing attorney general in California. I lived there when she was. And she didn't, I remember during the housing, the whole crash, she fought the banks, and she could have just gotten I think it was it 4 million, or maybe it was 4. Yeah, it had to just be 4 million. But I know she fought and wouldn't let them get away with any less than 20 million, and she won. So there was that. I wanted her to go after Mnuchin, but I think she didn't have a strong enough case. And attorney generals are bound by certain laws. Like if they don't have a very, solid case to prosecute someone, they can't waste the taxpayers' money. So, there's that. But anyway, since I had to check her progressed moon, the progressed moon phase, and since September 25th, 2023, she's been under the full moon phase. So this is excellent because the full moon phase just, releases everything that you've been working on and everything that you are. And, deep from your emotional body, deep from your soul. So it's a very ripe and fruitful and fulfilling phase of completion. And she's got that going on until December 8th, 2026. So that gets her well beyond the election. And then after December 8th, 2026, then she'll have even more gifts to give us, because that phase is one of dissemination. It's like, here you are, you have all this, you're complete, you're here, and then you disseminate everything that you have. So, I see really great things there. I think I discussed the nodal axis. So, again, communicating, learning, and working in politics. Sag definitely rules politics. I discussed that. The two quincunxes and conjuncts there. Oh, goodness, I'm seeing another aspect of the architect. Man, okay. So, her Mars being here in the third house, that fight for community, that fight for that loving, just that motivation. Mars is all about our motivation. She has a lot of motivation to be in community. And she will always have opportunities, because that's a part of her path in life. Her North Node is her path in life. So those opportunities will always come to her because she's earned them in past lives. And then she's got this double flow of just, graceful energy that connects with her past lives and her part of fortune. So this signature here of this peaceful warrior, but peaceful, courageous warrior, is really amazing. And then Mars square Jupiter. She does have quite a bit of tension fields. You can see that Jupiter's up here in a T-square. So it's affecting Saturn and her natal Mars. It's not a tight orb, but it's still there. It's enough. Yeah, it's actually pretty tight. It's tight enough. So there's this tension field always about which is the right way to go, and I believe she goes to Spirit to ask about that. And she probably gets tons of Dreamtime guidance. Jupiter's retrograde. So again, this is another, do-over of this lifetime. And yeah, that's our only other retrograde. It's just Saturn. That's interesting. Oh, Chiron. Saturn, Chiron, Eris, and Jupiter are her retrogrades, or planets in retrogradation. Except Chiron's not a planet, but it's okay. So, anywho, with Jupiter at the T-square between Saturn, mastery, lessons, fighting hard for the structure of humanity because she believes in humanity, and then the planet of her beliefs in here connected to source energy and spirit. Oh my goodness. She needs her seclusion. Maybe that's what this tension field is. Oh, yes, definitely. And I think I got this with her with cards, too, when I was reading on her with cards. She wants growth so much, and she wants to see tangible results of the work that she does, that I think her only downside is that she works too hard. So work-life balance is a thing that is, one of her soul tasks. It's like didn't Tim Walz say we'll sleep when we're dead or something like that? That's kind of like that. But boy, I've learned that the hard way. It's like no, you don't get enough sleep. You start hallucinating, or you have nightmares. You fall asleep into a nightmare. That's no fun. Oh, so okay. With Ceres being in this sesquisquare here to her natal Mars, again, Ceres being her parental imprint, mostly maternal imprint. I think that there was grief and separation quite a bit in her relationship with her mother because her mother losing her, having a divorce from her father. So that's playing out there, and then here we have that disruption to probably her thought, because I think she was 7 when they got divorced. So yeah, I mean that's not easy. So this is something that she's had to work with. This was a disruption in her life. So, but with Ceres in Capricorn, that does bring through that that feeling, that need to protect and nurture things that are of material, like people, work, and there's such a strong work ethic here too. So there's another clue there about the work. Let's see. Since Mercury rules her chart, let me make sure I'm not missing anything. You can see that Mercury is exactly opposing, not exactly, but tight enough orb to her moon. So again, I really feel like she gets tons of information from her group, like all these trusted people that she works with and work for her. I really feel like she's deeply connected to them, even psychically. Like she probably has people where they can kind of finish each other's thoughts because they're on the same wavelengths. And she, with her sun at that 27th degree, almost 28th degree of Libra, there's that real connection. That tuning in. Like she can really tune in emotionally and who she is in her core. It's like third chakra, solar plexus, very, very connected to her whole emotional body. I love it. So let's see, anything else? Neptune here squaring Mars can be challenging. Although Mars, this is a separating aspect. It's not applying. So this is something she's been working on for lifetimes, where she really, really, really wants to trust spirit completely, but then she gets disappointed by things that happen in life, and she has to constantly probably remind herself that, darn it, we are living on this dualistic planet, and she's learning to balance all that out. And also the fact that I'm sure she's had the last 3 lifetimes or more with not being able to complete what she came in to do. So this lifetime she really wants completion. So there's that. That's the thing, is like, do we always get what we want in each lifetime? Well, no, sadly. We have a lot of little semi-squares down here from Mercury over to, well, of course, this stellium here. So semi-squares bring through irritation. There's friction, and there's indecision, but there's also on-the-job training, and especially with Mercury ruling Scorpio, I'm sure she's had some magnificent mentors. I don't know who they are, but those would be wonderful questions to ask her, and I'm sure somebody has. I just don't know them. That's my shortcoming, not that it's not out there. Yeah, and then again, back to that square coming from Ceres to Eris. I think her mom, remember she says her mom always told her, you think you just fell out of a coconut tree? I can see that right here. This would be like her mom teaching her the lesson in her daily life, in relationship. There's this imprint of you're part of a huge, group. And so as a little kid, she was probably in that tension field of like, but Mom, what about me? Because there's all this Aries energy up here. And feeling like maybe she had to just keep moving forward and was moving from her instincts, but then her mom would be over here going, wait, consider how that affects other people. Slow down and wait, see how that affects people. Think about it first. And there you go with that Mercury and Scorpio. And then her sun over there with the sextile to her part of spirit, which has her thinking more broadly as well. Sun and Mercury, there's enough of a sextile there. And then, so it's like her mom, I think, really, really taught her some wonderful lessons about life and getting ahead. And I'm sure her mother's was a wonderful, wonderful woman. Still is. She just, Yeah. Okay, so I think I've covered all of that. I feel pretty complete with her natal chart. I think I've covered all the aspects. Oh, there's this other little semi-square up here, Moon to Chiron. Yeah, there's that friction. There's that indecision about which way to go sometimes. And because she can see the big picture, being in Pisces, but then her moon in Aries kind of wants it now. So she's, having to wait, all that wait. But, yeah, that's part of life. And then you can really see the grand fire trine, but I can almost see a kite here. It's just not tight enough over to her. Well, actually it is. That line should have came through there. So looking at that, if this is a kite, then the point goes to her moon. So it's all about, fighting. There's the joyful warrior. And here's the joy down here as well with Mars in Leo. It developed. I mean, Leo doesn't have to be joyful and creative and caring about children, but she does, and that the courage, that bravery there. Then again, with if this is the kite, then the tail's down here at her sun and Mercury. So it's like her solar essence and the way she thinks and communicates and analyzes and brings things together so that it's useful, has me feeling like all she has to do is just be herself, and that kind of there's the rudder that steers that whole kite, and connecting to Saturn and her North Node, her path in life. It's like her path in life seems to have just been, just to keep working within the structure of the society that she incarnated into, and then allow herself to just blossom with, who she really is. It's just more like, imagine a spirit coming in and having to adjust to this era. So, yeah. Okay, let me go forward and do her. Let's look at her. I'll put this over here in case I need to look at it again. But here's the full moon. Oh, that's right. It's not her solar eclipse next. I organize these charts in order of the dates that they'll come in. So this is the full moon lunar eclipse that's going to happen on September 17th for all of us, 2024. For her, I put it at Washington, D.C. I don't know where she'll really be, but she'll probably be all over the place. But, this is her home base, right? And we don't have any, so I use Bernadette Brady's technique for the eclipses. I use a really tight orb of 2 degrees or 2.5 degrees for conjunctions and oppositions. And I only look at the squares to the sun or the moon, and I only use an orb of 1 degree. So for this eclipse, it's only, all we're looking at is that it's coming, it's the full moon lunar eclipse, it's coming in her 10th house of career, her 10th house of reputation, how she relates to worldly affairs. It's her professional life. So to have that full moon eclipse in Pisces, no less, is wonderful because, again, people will see her. This is how she's participating with life. They're going to see her as being inclusive and compassionate and sensitive and so devoted. And it's so coming from the 10th to the 4th, then it's also bringing the energy into her, as the sun is down here shining brightly in her 4th house of, again, home and homeland. And again, at that, in the last decan of the sign, both of the moon and the sun, she's deepening and blossoming even more, like, mom, and the rest of us up here. Okay, so I can move forward with that because it's not squaring her sun or her moon. And there's no other tight orb conjunctions, I don't think, is there? No, I mean, when we have that lunar eclipse, the moon will be very tight orb to Neptune. So that brings in more of that spirituality that we all want from her. So here's the solar eclipse 2 weeks later, October 2nd, 2:49 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can see, solar eclipses are always new moons. So we've got the sun conjunct moon at 10 degrees of Libra. And this one does directly oppose her natal Eris. So this brings in more of an intention for her because it's in the 5th house. This comes in her 5th house. Remember, her 5th house has to do with her creativity and how she'll, just kind of play with life and her self-expression. And she's in this fight for justice. She's in this fight for freedom, fight for equality. And she's expressing that. And so So yeah, just I mean, and the transiting south node. Well, the eclipses always happen on the nodes close to, but even the transiting south node is in her fifth house, and I do love that. But with the opposition there between the sun and the moon to Eris, again, man, just she's a force to be reckoned with. No messing around there. And then again, because her sun's here at 27 degrees, that's too far of an orb. We don't connect there. And then her moon, there's no connection there with the rules that I use. Oh, I forgot to say that the lunar eclipses tend to be more, tend to be more internal. So I think she's going to have more of an internal commitment to just keep on, selflessly devoting herself to society. And then solar eclipses tend to be more external. So I think that with the 5th to the 11th dynamic here, or a polarity going on, the 11th house can be fame. The 11th house, 5th house can be fame too. The 11th house relates to fans. So there you go. I think there's going to be a lot of women standing up for her, fighting for her. I mean, she's given us all so much hope. Oh, okay. So now we have her solar return. I highlighted this yod here because it's a finger of fate and it involves the sun. Now the solar return, without going too much into all the rules, just to save time, it comes every year, sometimes a day or two off of your birthday, but this year it lined up right on her, same day she was born. But it's literally the sun's, when the sun returns to the exact degree and minute that you were born, and then it depends on where you're living. So I set it for Washington, D.C., because that is her home. I'm not one of those astrologers that says, oh, go travel here and then have your solar return there and then your life will be this for this year. No, it's where you live, because you take everything with you when you go and when you come back. I've never found that to work. So anyway, Washington, D.C., I feel confident there. Her sun, the sun in the solar return is the most important planet. Again, it's a solar return. In the 9th house of belief systems. Travel, this is a year of, traveling for her, of course. She always has, actually. But with the belief systems and trying to create more balance for society, and you can also see with this year, her message will have to do with how she believes that everyone deserves a good education, and she believes in the law. And then, her belief system, her philosophy as to life will continue to grow. And then, like I said before, it's a house of divination. It's the house of publishing and media. So we're talking all types of social media. And courts of law, universities. So the point of the yod is focused on her sun. So this is an amazing thing. Now, this won't be till her next birthday coming up, in a couple months. But I figured it wasn't worth doing her, because the solar returns, like, if you're sensitive, you start feeling them coming in at about 3 months before, and then the last one's kind of fading out about 3 months at the end. So I didn't see a reason to do her 2023 solar return, honestly. But you can see that the other 2 points of the yod, the finger of fate, finger of God, it's connected to Neptune and Pisces, because this is where we have Neptune, right? Or we will have it. It's retrograde. I think it's at 28 right now. Actually, I could be wrong. I forget. But anyway, it'll be at 27 degrees 44 minutes on her solar return, And this is a tight orb. You can see it's only 4 minutes difference. But that's the rules, or those, them are the rules with the yacht. A very, very tight orb. Inconjuncts, quincunxes are tight orbs. And you can see the other one here coming from her moon and Mercury. So that's interesting there. But let's focus here. So we've got a sextile here, bringing in the opportunities of all this spiritual source energy that she can pull in. Her art for including everyone. Her sensitivities, her compassion, her unity consciousness is really what Neptune is all about, and so is Pisces. There's a double reinforcement of that energy when Neptune is in Pisces. So there's her opportunity, and it's in her house in the solar return. Now this is a chart for the whole year for her, from one birthday to the next. And so Saturn and Neptune coming in the second house of her values, what matters to her most, her self-esteem, her self-worth, and how she values herself. It's ruled by Venus, and then Venus, you just think of putting Venusian energy mixed with Piscean energy, and then bringing Saturn structure, spiritual foundation is something that really, really matters to her. Now, what comes out of her mouth might just be, all about, it's not just, it's much, much more than enough. Shouldn't say just. But what we may hear are only words that have to do with including everyone compassionately. And Neptune and Pisces, by the way, also relates to immigration. So gently, speaking about people, that's how it's going to come out. But this is deeply spiritual to her. This year, she's going to feel so much more connected to the spirit of who she is, and she's building her spiritual foundation even more. She's just not going to say it probably, but I can imagine her conversations with her friends and loved ones. And then with this sextile coming over here to Uranus in Taurus. So Uranus brings through freedom, brings through intuitive intelligence, brings through something original and something super progressive. It's all about technology. It's all about focusing on the future. And it's most of all our change agent, and it's full of freedom. It's all about freedom loving. And in her fourth house, again, emotional foundation, home, roots, psychic sensitivities, real needs. It's really like this awareness coming in that she's coming home to herself, and then it's connected to her sun up here. So that's super important. With her moon coming in the fifth house, again, creative self-expression, learning, connecting the dots, talking, relating, more and more curiosity coming in. This is in the second decan of learning lessons. And then there's the inconjunct up to Mercury in the 10th house, no less, speaking forcefully. It's not just forcefully, it's intense. And psychically connected to society and what they need and what they want. And she doesn't mind sitting in a space of crisis sometimes. It's a sign of transformation, regeneration. And I think that she's going to like going deeper and deeper with her communication. Once she's out there, she's talking and she's got her script that she's using, but then she goes deeper and deeper. And that's emotionally, there are adjustments being made to her emotional body as she experiences herself out there with the people. Same goes with this other inconjunct to Neptune. Oh my goodness, you guys. I missed that. There's another yod here. There's just 2 yods this year. Whoa. Okay, this one points to Neptune. So like I was saying, that spiritually sourced energy of inclusion in this free flowing, coming from, well, this is the transiting part of fortune. So I think it's that people like having this, the voice, the things, her courage, I think, is deeply felt being in her eighth house. So this is a little weaker of a yod, but it still connects to her sun. So there's that. So this is like everybody's part of fortune. Everybody's good fortune is connected to the opportunity that she brings to the table for us to have the first female president, woman of color. Oh my God. Just one of those would be enough, but she's got both. This, multiracial, unbelievably gifted woman will be president. I believe she'll be the next president of the United States. So Uranus down here with the sextile to Mars and the trine over here to Pluto tells me that, again, there's another aspect of the architect with her going out and nurturing people. And she's really, really motivated to go out and nurture people. And then there's this powerful force that is very grounding for her and her body. And this is going to just continue to grow and grow and grow as time moves on. So now with her solar return ascendant being in Capricorn, Saturn is the ruler. It's a chart ruler for this year. So we have to look to see where's Saturn, and we already talked about that. It's here in her second house. So this is learning more and more lessons as to how to master big crowds and deeply connect. So I get this feeling it's like all she has to do is go out there, be really connected to who she is and what she wants for everyone else, and say it and do it, and there you go. Now with Venus up here in the 11th house, Venus ruling women in Sag, Venus in Sag, we have to remember, all of these planets here in these signs are the same as the transits that we are having on October 20th. Okay? So by then, Venus will be in Sag, and it's coming through in her 11th house of brothers and sisters. 11th house of goals, hopes, wishes. And in Sag, it's all about bringing new meaning and freedom into humanity for women, for the feminine. Wow. And again, here's another aspect of the architect, because we've got the sextile over to the transiting south node, which is the past, which has to do with fairness, justice, and equality. And then the trine coming down to the north node with Venus at the pivot point, like the handle of the bucket, and pouring to the future where we're all more free than ever because we all matter. Aries in, the north node in Aries, ruled by Mars, right? And then Mars being in her 7th house, there's the square there to Chiron and Eris, but we're all having that, in October. So, but for her, it's just this nurturing. She's in this tension field of nurturing women's anger. Well, not to nurture the anger, but healthy anger, to get up and not take it anymore and get out and vote. What does she say? We will work and we will win. We will vote, we will win. Right? Wow. So, sextile there to Jupiter. Chiron, this whole message here, because 3rd house, the messenger. And remember, her natal chart, Mercury rules her chart, so she is the messenger. And then with this sextile over to Jupiter in the 6th house, her service will continue to expand and her message will continue to grow. And then the trine up to her sun. There's another aspect of the architect here. This time, this with Jupiter at the handle of the bucket, and flowing back to her sun. There's such a connection here between who she is as a woman and what her mission in life is. Wow. Let's see. The moon here has an aspect of the quincunx and the inconjunct. So there's an adjustment here to her message. Well, that will continue. The more she learns what people want and what she can do, the more she will adjust. And then that will also help with, her commitment, because we're talking Capricorn and, Mercury and Scorpio up here too. She's always thinking about her commitment to nurture the things that really work. And especially when it comes to, I don't think she's talking about it, but she's thinking about, because Ceres here in her 1st house this year, she's probably going to start thinking a lot about, food. And and on another level too, most of all, Ceres is the cycles of, the women's reproductive cycles that they go through in life. So there's a lot of adjustment there. Maybe this is her, I'm sure she's already, postmenopausal, being 60. She'll be 60 at this one. But getting past that 2nd Saturn return, man, she's like, I really feel like she knows who she is, and she just wants to put herself out there and get the work done and get things right. It's like trying to make things right. And there's a real, emotional need to do that. So let's see. I think I've covered everything there. Let's go ahead and, there might be some disruptions here. Because, people always have something to say about whatever you've said, and then you kind of, you might have a little detour here and there, on her quest. But that's okay. That's life. And if anybody can handle it, it's her. Okay, so now we have the USA election chart. November 5th. I started it at 8 a.m., even though some polls may open earlier, but I don't know. And so basically we have her natal chart in the center, and then the election chart out here. So we can see that Jupiter is very close to her ascendant, so that brings in through. Now remember, here's her ascendant again. And Mercury not only rules her ascendant, Mercury rules the vote. With Gemini, it's a new choice, and it's very, we're thinking in terms of duality, because it's either her or the other friggin' guy. Nobody wants that anymore. This has everything to do with freedom on so many levels. I mean, they want to take us back to the Dark Ages. So, talk about, man, just really fighting against it's not just her, it's it's not just Trump, it's the whole GOP and the whole foreign enemies we have going on. We have Project 2025, all of that. I mean, it's basically her or The Handmaid's Tale. That's our choice. And so people are learning more and more and more about that. Here's the election, So there's enough of an orb here to, bring in that strength. So there's the growth of the message, the growth of the vote, the healing. Jupiter brings through healing energy. Jupiter and Gemini at this 20 degrees. Now, you can see Jupiter's retrograde then. But that's okay. We need that do-over. I don't mind Jupiter staying in a sign for longer. But anyway, we're in that stage of deepening and blooming, the blossoming. Something's coming out that we all want. So that's actually good. Uranus is retrograde as well at that point in her 12th house, but Uranus conjunct her natal Jupiter. Here it is. It's like, here's the change agent for freedom, which is her. And, there's this big mama healing energy here for the masses, right? This is very fortunate here. Very, very fortunate. Okay, so we can see that the day that we're voting, the sun comes in her 5th house of, again, creative self-expression, creativity, getting out there and expressing ourselves, and it's at 13 degrees in the second decan of the sign, where this is all about, people learning the lesson of how much it matters to vote. And again, famous. This is a house of fame. The sun's not conjunct anything except for it's very, very close to Neptune. So her natal Neptune, again, to have the sun connecting there, there's a spotlight on her selfless service, commitment. Scorpio's all about commitment as well. So that's actually a good aspect. Let's see. We can see that Eris is up here, very, very close to her moon. Eris has gone retrograde, and but it's backing up and close to her moon. So this is the power of the women who are sick of it. We're not taking it anymore. Chiron's there. It's like we matter, and this is all in her 11th house. So, but here's a good lesson in how slow Eris moves. It takes, and it's why she's more powerful than Pluto, because Pluto gets around the zodiac in 243 to 248 years. Eris takes 556 to 558 years. So she was born with it at 10 degrees. It's only made it to 24. So wherever Eris is in our natal charts is super, super important. It's where we will fight and not give up and just keep going, lifetime after lifetime until we get it right. Again, joyful warrior there. Mars in her 2nd house, and again, the vote, again, women courageously fighting for their self-preservation, for the things that they believe in, for their security. So there's that. And loving, right? Because Leo is all about love. Leo is all about, pushing the love out. And love is really the only thing that matters. It's not the money. I mean, yeah, we need money, but that's not the real thing that matters for each lifetime. It's just a means to live. It's important, but no, it's love. So, okay. The nodal axis is between her 5th and 11th house. Again, fame, working for humanity. Fans, major fans. And, well, yeah, I mean, my gosh, she has the beehive, and I don't know what we call the Swifties, maybe? She has so much support. We can see that transiting Saturn is up here in the 10th house. This is the most important house, actually, because here we are. Now, Saturn, I don't tend to, you guys, unless you've listened to me for a long time with the weekly transits, you probably wouldn't know that I don't read the planets. I come from an evolutionary astrology background, and I don't read the planets as either being beneficial, or what is it, like benefit or malefic. I don't look at it being good or bad. I look at it just being, what's it about? What's the planet about? Saturn's about structure. It's the government. conjunct Chiron. Now, because I think she's done enough of her own healing work over her lifetime because of the age she is. I mean, if she, let's say she was somebody who was 38 to 42, and it would be the Uranus opposition and all the other transits that happened, and she hadn't had her Chiron return yet, and she hadn't had her second Saturn return, then I would say, I don't know about this. There might be some pain there, some limitation. But no, I see this as cement. I see this as cementing her gifts that she came in to give, which is including everyone in society. Who can't relate to that? And if you want to argue about that, just remember Donald Trump got into the White House while Saturn was on his moon and his south node. So there's that. There's that cementing factor there. Of course, he didn't win the popular vote. If we didn't have the damn electoral college, he wouldn't have gotten in. So that's something that needs to change. But who better to get that going than somebody with the legal background that she has? So, okay. So here we've got the cementing factor here, the government in her, the way she is going to participate with society is in a high-level governmental position, I believe. And then Saturn is also sextiling her natal moon here. Her natal Saturn. I have the grid here. I could show you this other piece of paper, but it's just a bunch of it's like looking at this. Nobody wants to look at that. Or actually, yeah, it's too much. So anyway, but this, I have the election chart over here. So what I'm seeing up here in the grid is that her natal moon. Oh, so here's a transiting moon, and then at 28 degrees Sag. Okay, so that's political. And that's in her 7th house of relationship, and that's a blossoming phase, 28 degrees. It's at one more. Actually, it's within minutes of being, well, as the moon progresses, because the moon moves about a degree every 2 hours. So by 10 a.m., the moon's already going to be in Capricorn, and over the next 2.5 days, as the moon unfolds, it'll still be in her 7th house, and then her 8th house, I would think, would bring in that ability to, to have all those deep resources, other people's energy, other people's support, other people's transformative power in Capricorn here, right? Because her 8th house is Capricorn, and you can see that by transit. So she was born with Pluto down here in the 4th. By 60 years old, this is why we always want to look and see where Pluto is in our natal charts. She has it only up here in the 8th, right? But the 8th house is all about transformation and power, and things that we inherit. So I think, and power is, Pluto is so much about power, but power is about, are you giving it or are you taking it away, or are you, what are you doing with your own power? Well, in her lifetime, she has transformed she's gone through powerful issues with her, her home, her parents splitting up and all that. And then she transformed her creative self-expression, brought more power there. Also the way she served, and then the way she relates. And now it's at that 8th house of, just major transformation. It's the house of death and rebirth. So this is really powerful for her. And, as time goes by, then it'll be in her 9th house, major courts of law, all of that, power there. So her empowerment, the empowerment of her soul that's a deeply therapeutic process for her here with Pluto in the 8th, transiting through the 8th. But as far as the election goes, more power to her and the people. And then, like I was starting to say, with the moon trines her natal moon, see how her moon's at 27 degrees. The moon starts out, we kick off the election with the moon trining her moon. So that's good. It might take time. We know we have to. I'll do another chart. I'll do another reading on the USA election alone. But then again, I've looked with cards so many times too. I really feel like they're gonna stir up things. The electoral college. There's gonna be electors, state electors that firk around and find out that they can't get away with what they can or what they're trying to, and I believe that Mark Elias, on YouTube, he's Democracy Docket, and he has a newsletter. He's on top of everything, and he'll tell you how many different cases that he's prosecuted over the years to protect us, especially with all the state electors issue. But they're in Georgia. They already created a new law that says that they get to examine the votes and take their time with it, and but basically it'll be a bunch of delay, and that's probably why Saturn's up here in the 10th as well, is the fact that things will probably be delayed, and it might be kind of painful for her to be in this, like, because Chiron and Pisces, on the deeper levels of wounding is about feeling victimized and being all over the place. But she has taken self-responsibility for her life. That's how I know that she's brought her gifts through. And all the things that have been done to her, she doesn't want anybody else to experience it and or experience the same. And so with Saturn up here, it's probably just going to delay, that coming through a little bit, but it'll still finally come through. Because remember, I saw her with her hand on that Bible. January 21st. Oh my God, and the crowds, can you imagine that crowd size? Like, remember when, for Obama? Like, it's going to be even better, I think. So, okay, let's keep going here. So the moon trine moon is really good. The sun here, transiting sun, is it the no, it's actually the transiting, no, it's her sun. Where's her? So her natal sun. Oh, yeah, right here, 27 to 28. I'm looking at the glyphs up here going, wait, what? Because I'm not, instead of doing all the drawing in with the highlighters, I thought this would save time, but maybe not. Anyway, her sun's here at 27 degrees. The moon's here at 28, so there's a sextile here. So again, what do we have? Aspect of the architect. If we've got a sextile here and a trine up here, there's that building aspect. Building for the future. Hopes, wishes, goals, and dreams for a brand new future for everyone, for her brothers and sisters. And we're all with her. So that's fantastic. Now, transiting Mars over here is, we've got a bit of a square to her moon, though. So there's that tension field. How much are they going to get out and vote and fight? I really want them to, but we gotta see. There's that. Mars is also squaring her sun. So Mars is here in a T-square to her sun and her moon. So yeah, there's that tension field. But I think we're going to do just fine. And Mars moves pretty quickly. So we'll see how that goes. What else? Pluto, transiting Pluto up here is squaring her moon. See how Pluto's at 29 because it's made it back to, this is as far back into Capricorn as it will go, and it will, in our lifetimes, never be in Capricorn again, because remember, it takes 243 years to get around the zodiac, and this will complete that cycle, because as it moves forward, the next degree, within minutes, will be 0 degrees of Aquarius, and we will be firmly in that, Pluto and Aquarius phase that starts November 19th. Okay, not too far off from the 5th. And then it's going to Pluto will stay in Aquarius until March 8th of 2043. So this is really important here, and this is that last final third phase of that hit, to the south node, or I'm sorry, not the south node, but the Pluto return of Pluto will hit the south node of our USA chart though in 2027. So we still have some battling to do. These would be constitutional amendments and things that need to shift so that nothing like what happened with Trump can ever happen again. Taking back the House, having the House and the Senate, and then just putting laws and laws and laws and laws in to hopefully hold democracy for a good portion of time. But we're always going to have to fight for it. Every generation is going to have to fight for it. Because that's part of the battle here on Earth. It's Earth School, and it's about fighting for love. So, anyway, Pluto here is squaring her moon. You can see her moon's at 27, and this is a cardinal square. And if it squares her moon, it also squares her sun, right? Because that's how it works. And it also is squaring her Mercury. So Pluto is up here. This is really powerful. Pluto in her 8th house of transformation and transitioning into a more powerful position is squaring her moon and her sun. All I can say about that is she really, really, really wants it. And she's here for it. So we've got the leading edge here and the emotional edge over here. And then the power of Pluto up here. But it's, this is unprecedented. We are making history. If we elect a woman into the White House, and a woman of color, no less, this is history. Herstory. We're making herstory. Okay, what else? Transiting Chiron is also conjunct her moon here, but it's a wide orb. That's 7 degrees. I'm not going to pay attention to that. Let's see. We've got the opposition of Eris to her sun. Yeah. Again, it all comes back. So this is the things when you're reading a chart. It turns out there's that law of 3 coming into force or into play, and you've got a signature, and the signature here is fighting for women and equality, and fighting for everyone who loves women, and women love men, men love women. There's no separation between the masculine, the divine masculine, and the divine feminine in the spirit world. It's just here on Earth this way to work things out. But women are equals. And we're going to prove it this next time. So, I got let's see, Jupiter conjunct her North Node, her path in life. Yeah, that brings it home there. Ceres up here, again, the fight for women's equality and the fight for women's, the reproductive cycles of a woman that, because it's harder to be a woman, guys, I think you know that. It's a lot harder to be female. And with transiting Ceres here, we've got, let's see, it's at 19 degrees. So we've got the trine to her natal Venus. I like that because that works for women. It's 19 to 17 here. That's good. And then this being a very powerful house here. The 8th house being powerful. And psychologically powerful, for women. This is a big psychological transitional healing experience to have her become president. This will be very healing for the nation. And she will be carrying that force of power in her presidency. So let's see, with what else was Ceres? There's an inconjunct to her natal Chiron. Is it? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So that just reinforces what I just said. I think I feel kind of like I'm coming full circle here. Except for I want to say one more thing about this one with Pluto. Now this is a separating orb, but it's a separating aspect, but it's tight. We've got a semi-square to her natal Mars. Is it a semi? Yeah. No, actually, hold on. It's the other way around. It's transiting Mars, semi-square her natal Pluto. Yeah, that's right, because it's a square and a half. Or I'm sorry, half of a square. It's not 45 degrees, it's a half. So to her natal Pluto. Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's just, there's going to be a lot of friction and, waiting to see if it happens kind of thing, triggering her because this is her personally. But as far as, looking at the rest of this, we're looking at women voting in just droves, and men who love women and have sisters and aunts and nieces and mothers, and I mean, who doesn't have all of that? Grandmothers. And just for the principle of the way it should be, because, Venus rules Taurus, and Taurus is all about principles. Mars over here in the second house of principles, there we are, and just coming out in droves to vote is what I'm seeing here. And then Venus, in the sixth house, no less, the work to get out and go and do it and exercise our ability to vote. And then with the opposition to her ascendant, that's very powerful here. It's like the women pushing things through for her, giving her energy to go. And Sag being about truth. Jupiter in her natal 12th house is all about the spiritual laws that are absolute truth. We have man-made law and we have spiritual law, and some of them come together, and some of them are still separate. Well, I think she's a force to bring them together. Let's see, anything else? We've got the moon, which is the people, Venus, the feminine. Yeah, the public mood will be to get out and go, and it's in her relationship house. And then Mercury in the 6th, just communicating, like get out, make sure you get out and vote kind of a thing. And, again, I just have to keep reminding everyone to, check and make sure that you're still registered. Because at this point, the only way the GOP they know it's the only way that they can win is if they cheat and vote and suppress the vote, But if we can get rid of the Electoral College, there's no need for gerrymandering anymore. And, but we have to fight for that. One person, one vote. Why should somebody in South Dakota have 357% more power than one of us? Like, what? Or 357 times the power. Not percent of, but times. Okay. Sun, Mercury, Venus, Moon, got that. We got Mars. Those are all the personal planets. We've got Saturn. Neptune up here in the 10th is everybody just hoping, wishing, and mass consciousness. We want her in. I've taken care of Pluto, Uranus in the 12th. I think I'm good. There. Okay, so let's quickly look at her secondary progression. So she started out, with her sun in Libra. She's now a progressed late degree Sag. Again, this has to do with law. And her progressed Mercury is also law. And it's progressed up to her 7th house of relationships. So more and more and more, with her in the White House, she's going to be fighting for new laws to, again, help humanity. And then, because this progressed sun is also trining her natal moon here, 28, 27, see that there, both in fire signs. So fighting for humanity, using the law, creating new laws, and then her progressed. So we've got the, let's see, is there anything with her Mercury? There's an inconjunct to her natal Venus, so there's a constant adjustment there to work for women, and that's an applying degree, but it's a tight orb. And then also with Mars over here, progressed Mars has already moved over by 3 degrees, her Venus. This is what got her really going to, I can imagine her just, back there with Biden, like I'm here helping you, man. I'll do whatever you want. And he sent her all over the country, all over in other countries to support him. So she's just as good as he is with. Well, I don't know. He just has so much more experience, but she's had a lot of on the job training with him, and she's being the psychic sponge that she is, and him with all of his planets in Scorpio. You can bet that they had a lot of talks, and he taught her a lot, and she just didn't mind that at all. That she absolutely loved it. Again, there was another healthy mentor for her. So, okay, with secondary progressions, we only do the personal planets. So I can see how Mars there, and then with the fighting for women in the homeland, and then her progressed moon is at 14 degrees of Cancer, soon to make it into her second house. So her whole self-identity and persona has been growing much more psychically sensitive and caring and nurturing and warm. And then moving into the second house, that won't take too much longer, because the moon goes faster than the sun and the other planets are. But anyway, in the second house, that will bring home again, nurturing what people really want and making people feel safe, more people safe. And I think she'll feel safer. When she's in charge, she'll feel safer too. So we don't look at the other outer planets there. Now, with the directed solar arcs, we look at everything, but I can go pretty fast with this one. So, because I'm just going to use a tight orb here, we can see that Saturn on her moon brings in that maturity, that emotional maturity to carry us through, and it's in the 11th house. Woo! Again, cementing her emotional need to fight for humanity, and then opposing the sun, and the moon progressed. Her solar arc, Mars is moving to closer and closer with her sun. She'll be even fighting even harder, and energized. Mars will energize her even more. Let's see. Oh, yeah, and all this is going to be fun, watching the debate with Trump if he does manage to get his scary little self up there. You can see that her solar arc moon has already crossed over her north node, so she's definitely, she's connected to learning more and more and more about herself and the public, and connecting with the public, and I think she probably enjoys that. Her solar arc sun here is still this, the same as the progressed sun, but connected with Mercury there in the 7th. That's the same signature that I spoke about already, so I don't need to say that again. Look at Pluto and Venus here. So Venus, love, deep, committed love for people, and then powerfully connected to her commitment to double down and work in service, because we're talking 6th house, and connected to Neptune, Pluto, solar arc Pluto on her natal Neptune. This brings through that very powerful spiritual committed love and love for service. Wow. Whew. And solar arc Uranus is close there. So you can see how the way it's progressed. It's solar arc directions is they're like tertiary progressions. So with Venus, Pluto, and Uranus it being in Virgo, starting out when she was little, it's now progressed into Scorpio. Wow. So their love for service has now evolved into more commitment, and that deep need to serve is, I think, all I need to say there. Let's see. The directed south node right on her midheaven and close to her Saturn, or not right on her midheaven, but it's the nodes go backwards. I probably should just let that one go. Let's just talk about it as being in her. This would be the power of the people and the past. In her ninth house of like the quest for the search for meaning in her life is to again, work for the people. Again, so much with the people. Let's see. As far as tight orbs, there's the solar arc Pluto here in a semi-square to her natal Mercury here. So there's this power, this commitment to find and develop and work within her commitment to keep us out of, it's like her form of service is to keep us out of crisis. So that's amazing, to keep us out of crisis, and she'll be thinking about that all the time, and developing foundations she'll keep learning. It's all about the learning, the power in learning, and then getting the lessons, and then developing new foundations based on the lessons that she's learned. Like, that's her superpower. So, yeah, I think that's it. I think I'm going to just get this uploaded for you, and I welcome your comments, and yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. Take good care. Bye.